Okay, this is lesson 7 of module 2, and we are on the next topic. So we've learned about some transformations in the plane. We've learned about translations along a vector. We've learned about reflections across a line of reflection. And we've talked about rotations around a point of rotation. Okay, and they all had a lot of things in common. We saw that they all had the property that when I transformed a figure, such as an angle, it was transformed into a figure of the same size, same type of figure. So angles were mapped to angles, rays to rays, segments to segments, lines to lines, and we learned that that the measurement is preserved. So the size of the angle, the length of the segment, and such are the same under translations, rotations, and reflections. Okay, so in these next 4 lessons, 7 through 10, you're going to be doing not just one transformation, but several in a row. So sometimes it's necessary to do more than one translation. And so in this first lesson, lesson 7, we're going to go back to translations, and we're going to look at a sequence of translations. And then in lesson 8, we'll do reflections, and then we'll do combinations of translations, reflections, and rotations. So it gets kind of fun. It's a little bit like a puzzle by the time we get to the end of this. But we're going to start fairly simply here today. So I think this is going to be a fairly short video. And I just want to start by looking at an example, and then we'll do some exercises together. Okay, so here is a diagram. And in this diagram, you have an original figure, E, and we have a couple translation vectors. We've got AB and BC. So you can see that E was translated along AB. So it was moving in this direction, this amount of length, right? So it goes from E, here's the image E prime. And then I'm going to take the image E prime, and I'm going to translate it along vector BC. So it's going to move upward and not quite as far, about half as far, and it'll move upward. And you notice the notation here, we've got E double prime. So we're going to use the double prime to show that this figure's been translated twice, okay? Same thing with this point. Here's point P, was translated along vector AB for P prime, and then along BC for P double prime. So those are the, that's a sequence of translations. Okay, so we're going to do it. I'm going to get you started on exercise 1, and then going to let you work on exercises 1 through 4. Okay, so in this first exercise, exercise 1, we have several directions down here. And we're told to translate triangle ABC and segment ED. So here's not triangle, but angle ABC and segment ED along vector FG. So you got to find vector FG. It's right here. And label the translated images appropriately. In other words, A prime, B prime, C prime, and E prime, D prime. And then in part B, we're going to take our image, whatever we got when this was translated, and we're going to translate it along vector HI. Okay, so it might be fun for you to try and predict where these images are going to come out in the end, but let's do this together, and then I'll let you answer the questions. Okay, so in order to translate this angle along vector FG, I want to trace the vector on my overhead. So I'm using my overhead now. I've got vector FG because I'm told to translate on FG first. And then let's put my figure in a different color. and I've got angle, I've got points A, B, and C, and then segments between them forming an angle. Okay. Go ahead and label these A, B, C. Okay. So now, remember how we translate along a vector. We're going to move the overhead so that F lines up with point G. And so we're going to come along here, along this vector. And remember, if it helps you, you can draw a line extending vector FG, and that can help. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and copy this. Let's make sure I got it in the right place. Copy, that'll be my point A prime right there, B prime, and C prime. Okay, so go ahead and label those points. A prime, B prime, and C prime. Okay, so that's a translation along vector FG. And I'm going to go ahead and connect the points. I think this is a little bit easier way to do it than just freehanding it. So I'll connect those points. And I'm probably going to be asked some questions about the measure of this angle. Okay, so there's my translated angle, translated along FG. Now I was also told to translate the segments. Let's go back and do that. So there's my vector. I've already traced it. Now I'm going to trace the segment here. I'll put the segment in black. Segment D, E. So there's E and D, point D right there. So once again, I'm translating along this vector, okay, not along the segment or anything. I think some of you are getting tripped up by that. So I always move in the direction and in the distance dictated by my vector. Let me move back on the screen here so we can see where ED ended up. And I'm going to mark those points and then connect them. Let's get it back. That looks good. Ah! Okay, so D is right here. E is right here. And I'll connect those. So this is D prime and E prime. There's my segment. D prime, is that D? No, that's E prime down here. E prime and D prime. Okay, so you can kind of see these have moved over and down a little bit. Okay. Now, so I've done everything in A. I've done that. I've translated the angle and the segment along the vector. I've labeled it, and I'm good to go. So now, so we've done that. You did that in the early lessons of this module. Now I'm going to translate this angle, angle A prime, B prime, C prime, and and my segment, E prime, D prime, along vector HI, which is up here, which is not quite as long as vector FG, so it's going to go down and to the right. Okay, so let's see what that looks like. So let's get a new overhead, and we will, let's see if I can get this all on the screen. There we go. So my vector, I use red for my vector again. My vector I'm going to use this time is HI. There's HI, and there's the 2 points. And now I'm translating not my original figure, but I'm translating the images. Okay. And they're going to move once more down in that direction. Okay. Okay, so now I can mark these points up again and label them with the double prime notation because they've been translated twice. Let's get this one, get this one, and again, I don't claim to be doing this perfectly, but you get the point. So I've got A double prime, B double prime. Ooh, where'd it go? Here's C double prime. All right, and we'll connect that. Connect those and get our angle here. And here's E double prime and D double prime right there. So D and E. Okay. So there's my translated angle. So I've got angles and segments all over the place on that. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is to answer the questions here. Think about those and we'll come back and talk about them, A through E. And then also move on to example or 2, exercise 2, where you're going to be translating this triangle here along 2 different vectors, one after the other. Label the images appropriately. And you can go ahead and do exercise 3, where you're going to be translating this polygon along 2 different vectors. And you can do exercise 4, and then we will come back and look at those together. So exercise 4 has you translating circle A and ellipse E and along 2 different vectors. Okay, so you're going to be looking at, did the size or shape of any of these figures change even when we did a sequence of translations? Okay, so go ahead and work on that.